The alarm screens lit up across every military base on Earth. Red warnings flashed in command centers from Seoul to New York, from Moscow to Sydney. Something big had just appeared at the edge of the solar system. Admiral Hyun stood in the main control room of Earth Defense Headquarters, staring at the massive display screen. His face showed no emotion, but his mind was racing. 200 ships. The Voran Empire had sent 200 warships to Earth's doorstep. "Sir, they're broadcasting a message," said a young officer at the communications desk. Her hands shook slightly as she worked the controls. "Put it on screen," Hyun said quietly. The display changed. A tall alien figure appeared. His skin was dark purple and his eyes glowed with a red light. He wore armor that seemed to shine with its own power. This was High Commander Tarvex of the Voran Empire. "Humans of Earth," Tarvex began. His voice was deep and filled with confidence. "I am High Commander Tarvex. The Voran Empire has claimed your system. You have 72 hours to surrender. Give us control of your planet, your resources, and your people. If you refuse, we will destroy every ship you have. Then we will take your world by force." The message ended. The control room was silent. Everyone looked at Admiral Hyun. "Get me Captain Sora," Hyun said calmly. Across the solar system, Captain Sora stood on the bridge of her destroyer, the Defiant. She was younger than most ship captains, only 35 years old. But she had proven herself in battles against pirates and raiders in the outer colonies. Now she faced something much bigger. "Captain, Admiral Hyun is calling," her communications officer said. Sora pressed a button on her command chair. "This is Captain Sora. I'm here, Admiral." "Sora, take the Defiant and move to position Delta 7. I'm sending 49 other ships to join you. Make a defensive line, but do not engage. Is that clear?" "Crystal clear, sir," Sora replied. "What's the plan?" "The plan is to not die for the next 72 hours, Hyun said. There was a hint of something in his voice. Was it humor? Sora couldn't tell. "Move out, Captain." The Defiant's engines roared to life. Around Earth, 50 ships began to move. Destroyers, cruisers, and frigates. They were good ships, but they were old. Most had been built 50 years ago. Compared to the Voran fleet, they looked like toys. Back on Earth, Admiral Hyun called an emergency meeting. Military leaders from every nation gathered in the command center. Some joined by video link. Others flew in on fast shuttles. "We all saw the message," Hyun said to the group. "The Vorans have given us 3 days. They have 200 ships. We have 50 in active service. The numbers are not in our favor." "We should evacuate," said one general. "Get the government leaders off planet, save who we can." "We should fight," said another. "Go down with honor." Hyun raised his hand. The room went quiet. "We will do neither. I am going to request a meeting with Tarvex. I will ask for more time to consider their terms." "More time? For what?" someone asked. "For diplomacy," Hyun said with a small smile. "Send the message." The message went out to the Voran fleet. To everyone's surprise, Tarvex agreed to meet. He appeared on the communication screens again, looking amused. "You wish to talk, human?" Tarvex said. "Very well. I will enjoy watching you beg. I am Admiral Hyun of Earth Defense. I request 48 hours to discuss your terms with our leaders." Tarvex laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. 48 hours? You need time to accept the obvious? Very well, Admiral. I grant you this time. Use it wisely. Perhaps practice your surrender speech. The connection ended. Hyun turned to his staff. "Good. We have 48 hours. "Sir, what are we really doing?" asked Commander Jiho, head of tactical operations. "Exactly what I said. Discussing terms," Hyun replied. "Now get me Director Park at Project Titan. Tell him the curtain rises in 2 days." Around the galaxy, news of the Voran arrival spread fast. Hundreds of alien species watched the events unfold. The Vorans were famous. They had conquered 23 civilizations in the past 100 years. Each time, the pattern was the same. They arrived, they demanded surrender, and they won. On the observation stations above neutral planets, aliens placed bets. The odds were 500 to 1 in favor of the Vorans. Some felt sorry for humanity. Most just saw it as another conquest. Earth was unknown in the galaxy. Humans had only been exploring space for 100 years. They seemed primitive, weak, and unprepared. High Commander Tarvex stood on the bridge of his flagship. He looked at the tactical display showing Earth's fleet. 50 ships, most of them ancient. He had fought bigger battles against asteroid miners. Sub-Commander Kelvix. Tarvex called to his second officer. "What do you think of the human fleet?" Kelvix studied the screen. "They are nothing, Commander. Their ships are from another era. Their weapons are outdated. We could destroy them in minutes." "Yes," Tarvex agreed. "But where is the fun in that? Let them have their 48 hours. Let them hope. It makes the surrender sweeter." The Voran fleet moved closer to Earth. They maintained formation, a show of perfect military discipline. Their ships were sleek and powerful. Energy shields glowed around each vessel. Weapons ports showed rows of plasma cannons and missile tubes. Captain Sora watched them from the Defiant. Her crew was nervous. She could see it in their faces, hear it in their voices. They knew the truth. Earth's fleet was not strong enough. "Captain," her weapons officer said, "if they attack, how long can we hold?" Sora thought about lying. Then she decided her crew deserved the truth. Maybe 10 minutes, maybe less. "Then why are we here?" "Because Admiral Hyun asked us to be here, and I trust him." Sora looked at her crew. "All of you, listen to me. We are Earth's shield. Maybe we're not the strongest shield. Maybe we're not the newest. But we're what stands between them and home. So we stand here and we do our job. Understood?" "Yes, Captain," they answered together. The hours passed slowly. Earth's fleet held position. The Voran fleet watched and waited. And on Earth, in a hidden facility deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, engineers and scientists worked around the clock. They checked systems, ran tests, and prepared for the moment when everything would change. Admiral Hyun sat in his office, looking at a photograph on his desk. It showed a younger version of himself standing next to a massive ship under construction. The ship was so big it barely fit in the frame. "Soon," Hyun whispered to the photograph. "Very soon." The first day passed without incident. The Voran fleet stayed in formation, watching Earth like a predator watches wounded prey. On the second day, Tarvex decided to send a message. "Human Admiral." Tarvex's voice boomed across all channels. "I grow bored. Let me show you what awaits if you refuse our generous offer." Captain Sora watched from the Defiant as 3 Voran cruisers broke formation. They moved toward a cluster of old communication satellites orbiting Earth. The satellites had been there for decades. Nobody used them anymore, but they were still part of Earth's history. The Voran ships opened fire. Green energy beams shot through space. The satellites exploded one by one, turning into clouds of metal and fire. It took less than 30 seconds, a demonstration, Tarvex said. "This is what happens to things that have outlived their usefulness. Your fleet is next, Admiral. Then your cities." In the Earth Defense Command Center, officers waited for Admiral Hyun's response. He sat quietly, watching the destruction on his screens. Then he pressed a button. "Noted," was all he said. Tarvex seemed disappointed by the calm response. He had expected fear, anger, or panic. Instead, he got one word. It made him angry. "Humans are either very brave or very stupid," Tarvex said to Sub-Commander Kelvix. "I have not decided which." "Perhaps both, Commander," Kelvix replied. Across the galaxy, the news networks were having a busy day. Reporters from dozens of species broadcast the confrontation. They showed the Voran fleet, Earth's small defensive line, and the destroyed satellites. "This is Correspondent Vex reporting from the neutral zone," one reporter said into his camera. "Behind me, you can see the standoff at Earth. The Voran Empire has made its intentions clear. Military experts give humanity less than 1% chance of survival. The betting markets reflect this. It seems Earth's first contact with the galactic community will also be its last." On a distant trading station, aliens gathered in bars and viewing halls to watch. Some felt sympathy. Most just wanted to see what would happen. A few placed bets on how long the human fleet would last when the fighting started. "I give them 5 minutes," said one alien trader. Too generous, his friend replied. 3 minutes maximum. Back near Earth, Lieutenant Nari sat at her communication station on the Defiant. She was monitoring all channels, both human and alien. Her job was to listen for any useful information. A private message came through on a secure channel. It was from Commander Jiho at Earth Defense. Lieutenant Nari, this is Commander Jiho. Are you alone? Nari looked around. The bridge was busy, but nobody was paying attention to her station. Yes, sir. I can talk? Good, pass this to Captain Sora. Tell her to maintain the illusion. Project Titan is ready. We go in 24 hours. Project Titan? Nari asked. What is that? You'll see tomorrow. Just pass the message, and Nari, tell your captain that Admiral Hyun says to trust him. The message ended. Nari immediately went to Captain Sora and whispered the information. Sora's eyes widened slightly, but her face remained calm. Understood, Sora said quietly. Get back to your station. Act normal. Nari returned to her post, her heart beating fast. Project Titan, what could it be? A new weapon? A secret alliance? She had no idea, but the name sounded important. As the hours passed, more Voran ships began making aggressive movements. They would approach Earth's defensive line, stop just outside weapons range, and then retreat. It was a game meant to make the human crews nervous. It worked. On several Earth ships, captains reported crew members becoming stressed. Some asked to be relieved from duty. Others just stared at the Voran fleet, waiting for the attack they knew must come. Captain Sora kept her crew focused. Don't watch them, she ordered. Do your jobs. Check your systems. Run diagnostics. Stay busy. On Earth, people watched the sky with fear. They could not see the fleets with their eyes, but they knew the ships were there. Every news channel showed the same thing. Earth's small fleet versus the Voran armada. Governments tried to keep people calm, but panic was spreading. Some people fled to the countryside. Others went to bunkers built during the old wars. Many just stayed home with their families, waiting to see what would happen. Admiral Hyun appeared on television. He stood in his uniform, looking calm and confident. People of Earth, he said, I know you are afraid. Fear is natural when facing the unknown. But I want you to know something. Earth defense has a plan. We are not helpless. We are not defeated. Trust in your military. Trust in your fellow humans. And most importantly, do not surrender hope. The speech helped some people. Others thought the Admiral was lying to keep them calm. The truth was somewhere in between. Hyun was not lying, but he was not telling the whole truth either. Late that night, with only 12 hours left before the deadline, Tarvex broadcast another message. This time he appeared on every screen on Earth, not just military channels. Every television, every computer, every phone showed his face. Humans, he began. Your time is almost gone. In 12 hours you must give me your answer. But I already know what you will say. You will surrender. You have no choice. Look at your fleet. Look at my fleet. You are insects compared to us. We have destroyed civilizations far stronger than yours. We have conquered worlds that fought for decades. You have nothing that can stop us. Tarvex paused, letting his words sink in. I have conquered 23 species. You will be the 24th. This is not a negotiation. This is not a war. This is an ending. Your ending. Accept it with dignity or die with pride. The choice is yours, but the result is the same. The broadcast ended. Earth went silent. People looked at each other, not knowing what to say. Then, slowly, something unexpected happened. Instead of panic, anger began to grow. Humans had been threatened before in their own history. They had faced extinction, disaster, and war. And they had always found a way to survive. Messages began flooding into Earth defense. Not messages of surrender, but messages of support. Fight them, people wrote. Don't give up. We're with you. Make them regret coming here. Admiral Hyun read the messages with satisfaction. Good, he thought. Humanity still had spirit. That would be important for what came next. He sent a message to all Earth ships. Captains, this is Admiral Hyun. In 10 hours, everything changes. Maintain your positions. Keep your crews ready. And whatever happens, remember you are Earth's finest. Hyun out. Captain Sora received the message and shared it with her crew. They straightened in their seats. They checked their weapons one more time. They prepared themselves for battle. None of them knew about Project Titan. None of them knew what Admiral Hyun had been building in secret. But they trusted him. And that trust would soon be rewarded in ways they could never imagine. The countdown continued. 10 hours, 9 hours, 8 hours. The Varan fleet moved closer, tightening the circle around Earth. They were predators closing in for the kill, but they did not know that Earth had teeth. Big teeth. And those teeth were about to be revealed. The deadline arrived. Across Earth, people stopped what they were doing. They watched their screens, waiting. In the command center, Admiral Hune stood with his hands behind his back. He looked calm, but everyone could feel the tension in the room. Tarvex's face appeared on every screen again. The time has come, Admiral. What is your answer? Do you surrender? Hyun pressed the communication button. When he spoke, his voice was steady and clear. High Commander Tarvex, Earth has considered your offer carefully. Our answer is no. We will not surrender. We propose a different option. Leave our system now and no harm will come to your fleet. For a moment, there was complete silence. Then Tarvex began to laugh. It started as a chuckle, then grew into loud, mocking laughter that filled every speaker. You? You threaten me? Tarvex roared. You have 50 ancient ships. I have 200 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy. You are dead, Admiral. You just don't know it yet. I see, Hyun said calmly. Then we have nothing more to discuss. Tarvex's face turned dark with rage. You dare to end this conversation? I will end you. All ships attack formation. Destroy the human fleet. Show these primitives what real power looks like. The Voron fleet began to move. 200 warships advanced toward Earth's defensive line. Their weapons powered up, glowing with deadly energy. In minutes, they would be in range. On the Defiant, Captain Sora gripped her command chair. All hands, prepare for combat. This is not a drill. Her crew worked their stations with shaking hands. They were about to die, and they knew it. But they would die fighting. Captain, Lieutenant Nari said suddenly, I'm getting a signal. It's from Admiral Hyun, audio only. He says to hold position and watch Jupiter. Jupiter? Sora said, confused. What does that mean? She pulled up a view of Jupiter on her screen. The giant planet looked normal. Nothing unusual. Just gas and clouds and the same red spot that had been there for centuries. Then space began to bend. It started as a small distortion, like heat waves rising from hot ground. But this was in the vacuum of space where there should be no distortion at all. The distortion grew larger, spreading across thousands of kilometers. The Varan fleet saw it too. Their advance slowed. Confused reports went back and forth between ships. What is that? Sub-Commander Kelvix asked, staring at his sensors. Unknown, his tactical officer replied. Our sensors show nothing, but we can see something happening. Tarvex stared at the distortion with growing concern. All ships halt. Defensive positions. The distortion grew bigger and bigger. Space itself seemed to tear open, like fabric being ripped apart. And then something came through. It was a ship, but calling it a ship was like calling an ocean a puddle. The vessel that emerged from the quantum cloak was enormous beyond belief. 15 kilometers long, 3 kilometers wide. It was dark gray, covered in armor that looked thick enough to stop a meteor. Rows of weapons covered its hull. Hundreds of fighter bays dotted its sides. The Supercarrier Indomitable had arrived. On Earth, people stood up from their chairs. In bars and homes and offices, humans stared at their screens in shock. On alien stations across the galaxy, reporters could not find words. The betting markets crashed as everyone tried to cancel their bets at once. What? What is that? Someone whispered in the Earth Defense Command Center. Admiral Hune allowed himself a small smile. That is Project Titan. That is the EDF Indomitable. And that is why I told Tarvex to leave. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Doyoon sat in his command chair. He was a big man with gray hair and a calm face. He had been commanding the ship in secret for 3 years, waiting for this moment. This is Captain Doyoon of the Earth Defense Force Supercarrier Indomitable. He broadcast on all channels. Varan Fleet, you are in Earth space without permission. Stand down immediately or you will be destroyed. Tarvex's face had gone pale. His mouth opened and closed like a fish. That's impossible. Humans don't have the technology. You're primitives. Apparently not, Doyoon replied. You have 1 minute to power down your weapons and retreat. After that, we will consider you hostile. This is a trick, Tarvex shouted. Some kind of illusion. It can't be real. Engineer Minji's voice came over the communication channel. She was in the Indomitable's engineering section, surrounded by the massive reactors that powered the ship. Captain Doyoon, all systems are functioning perfectly. Power output is at 100%. All weapons are ready. Fighter bays are prepared to launch. Thank you, Minji, Doyoon said. Tactical, show them we're real. Fire one warning shot. Make it impressive. One of the Indomitable's main railguns rotated, targeting an empty area of space between the two fleets. The weapon charged up, energy building until the air around it seemed to glow. Then it fired. A projectile shot out at impossible speed. It was just a solid piece of metal, but it was moving at a significant fraction of light speed. When it reached the target zone, the projectile released its energy. Space lit up like a new sun. The shockwave spread out, visible even from Earth. Every sensor in the system registered the blast. It was more powerful than anything the Varans had ever seen from a single weapon, and the Indomitable had 40 more guns just like it. Tarvex stared at the blast, his confidence crumbling. How? How did you build that? Where did you hide it? Admiral Hyun's voice came over the channel. You assumed we were primitive because you never bothered to look closely. You judged us by our oldest ships and thought that was all we had. That was your first mistake. Your second mistake was threatening our home. We have been watching the galaxy for decades, High Commander. We have been preparing. We knew someday someone like you would come, and we were ready. Sub-Commander Kelvix looked at his sensors again. The readings were clear now. The supercarrier was real. Its power output was massive, and it had just demonstrated a weapon that could destroy his flagship in a single shot. Commander, Kelvix said quietly, I recommend we withdraw. But Tarvex was not listening to reason. Pride and anger clouded his judgment. He had never retreated from a battle. He had never been beaten. He refused to accept that these humans, these primitives, could have beaten him with preparation and secrecy. All ships, Tarvex screamed. Attack the big ship. Destroy it. Everything we have. Fire, fire! Sir, that's not wise, Kelvix began. I said fire. The Varan fleet opened fire. 200 ships launched everything they had at the Indomitable. Plasma bolts, missiles, energy beams, all of it streaking through space toward the massive carrier. On the Indomitable, alarms sounded. Incoming fire, the tactical officer reported. Multiple targets. Impact in 10 seconds. Shields to maximum, Doyoon ordered calmly. All hands, brace for impact. The weapons hit. The Indomitable was surrounded by explosions. Fire and energy washed over its hull in a display that would have destroyed any normal ship 10 times over. When the light faded, the Indomitable was still there. Its shields had absorbed everything. Not a single weapon had touched the actual hull. Captain Sora, watching from the Defiant, could not believe her eyes. It didn't even scratch them. Doyoon's voice came over the channel again. This time it was hard and cold. Varan fleet, you have made your choice. We offered mercy. You chose war. Very well. All batteries fire at will. Disable their ships. Wing Commander Suji, launch all fighters. The real battle was about to begin, and the Varans were about to learn that Earth did not make idle threats. The Indomitable's fighter bays opened. Thousands of small craft poured out like angry bees from a hive. 5,000 fighters launched in perfect formation, each one piloted by Earth's best. At their lead was Wing Commander Suji, a veteran pilot who had been training for this moment for 5 years. All wings, this is Suji, she said into her radio. Stay in formation. Target weapons and engines only. We disable, we don't destroy. Show them what Earth can do. Copy that, Wing Commander, her pilots responded. The fighters streaked toward the Varan fleet. They were fast, much faster than anything the Varans had. Their weapons were precise, designed for surgical strikes. As they closed in, they split into attack groups. The first group hit a Varan cruiser. 20 fighters working together, firing in perfect sync. They targeted the ship's weapon ports, destroying them one by one. In 30 seconds, the cruiser was helpless. Its engine still worked, but it couldn't fight back. Target disabled, the group leader reported. Moving to next target. This happened again and again. The human fighters moved like they were one mind, one body. They danced between Varan ships, too fast to hit, too coordinated to stop. But the fighters were just the beginning. The Indomitable itself began to fire. Its massive railguns targeted the larger Varan warships. Each shot was perfectly aimed. The projectiles hit engines, power cores, and command centers. Ships went dark one after another, their crews stunned but alive. Captain Doyoon watched the battle from his command chair. Weapon status. We're using 15% power, Captain, his tactical officer reported. All targets are being neutralized as ordered. Good, keep it precise. Remember, these are people, not targets. We're trying to end a war, not start a massacre. On the Defiant, Captain Sora received new orders from Admiral Hyun. All Earth ships join the attack. Coordinate with the Indomitable. Show them we're not just one big ship. We're a unified force, Sora smiled. You heard the Admiral. Weapons. Lock on to the nearest Voran cruiser. Target their engines. Fire when ready. The Defiant and the 49 other Earth ships opened fire. Their weapons had been upgraded in secret, just like everything else. What the Vorans thought were ancient guns were actually modern weapons disguised to look old. A Voran destroyer tried to run. The Defiant's weapons hit it square in the engines. The ship spun out of control, powerless but intact. Target disabled, Admiral, Sora reported. Moving to next target. The battle was turning into a rout. The Vorans were used to fighting enemies who panicked, who made mistakes, who fought without coordination. But Earth was different. Every move was planned. Every shot was calculated. The human fleet moved like a single organism. Tarvex watched in horror as his fleet fell apart around him. Shields! Why aren't our shields working? They are working, Commander, his tactical officer shouted. But their weapons are too strong. They're cutting through our defenses like paper. Then fire back. Destroy those fighters. We're trying, sir, but they're too fast. And too many. Sub-Commander Kelvix grabbed Tarvex's arm. Commander, we must retreat. We've already lost half the fleet. This battle is over. Tarvex shoved him away. No, we are the Voran Empire. We do not lose to primitives. All ships concentrate fire on their carrier. If we destroy the big ship, we win. It was a desperate move, and it was the wrong one. 30 Voran ships that were still functional turned all their weapons toward the Indomitable. They fired together, combining their power in one massive strike. The energy hit the carrier's shields. This time the shields flickered. For a moment it looked like they might fail. In the command center on Earth, people held their breath. Then the shields held. They glowed bright blue, absorbing the energy and spreading it across the entire defensive field. When the attack ended, the Indomitable was still there, still fighting, still winning. Shields at 70%, the shield officer reported. Regenerating now. Do-Yoon nodded. They showed us their best shot. Now show them ours. Target Tarvex's flagship. Disable only. I want him alive to answer for his crimes. The Indomitable's main guns rotated, all of them targeting the Voran flagship. The sight of 40 massive weapons all pointing at his ship made Tarvex finally understand the truth. He had lost. Earth was not primitive. Earth was not weak. Earth had been hiding its strength, waiting for the right moment. Fire, Do-Yoon ordered. The railguns fired. The projectiles hit the flagship's engines, weapons, and shield generators. The ship went completely dark. Emergency lights flickered on inside, but nothing else worked. The flagship was floating dead in space. Flagship disabled, Captain, the tactical officer reported. Tarvex is alive but powerless. Around the battlefield, Voran ships were making a choice. Some tried to run. Earth fighters chased them down, disabling their engines before they could escape. Others tried to keep fighting. They were disabled quickly, but more and more were simply stopping, powering down their weapons and broadcasting surrender. Sub-Commander Kelvix sat in the emergency command center of a Voran cruiser. His own ship had been disabled early in the fight. He looked at the tactical display and saw the truth in numbers. 150 Voran ships disabled. 30 had fled toward the edge of the system. Only 20 still had power, and they were surrounded. This is Sub-Commander Kelvix to all Voran ships, he broadcast. Stand down. Stop fighting. We surrender. What? No. Tarvex's voice came over the radio. He was on his flagship, powerless but still refusing to accept reality. We do not surrender. We are Vorans. We are defeated, Kelvix interrupted. And if we keep fighting, we will all die. I will not sacrifice more lives for pride. Stand down. One by one, the remaining Voran ships powered down their weapons. The shooting stopped. The battle was over. It had lasted 17 minutes. Wing Commander Suji led her fighters back to the Indomitable. As she flew past disabled Voran ships, she could see their crews looking out the windows at her. They looked shocked, scared, and confused. She felt no anger toward them. They had just been following orders. Back on Earth, people were crying. Some with relief, some with joy, some with disbelief. They had been ready to die. Instead, they had won, and they had won decisively. Admiral Hyun appeared on screens across the planet and across the galaxy. He stood in his uniform, looking tired but satisfied. "This is Admiral Hyun of Earth Defense. The battle is over. The Voran fleet has surrendered. I want to make something very clear to everyone watching. Earth did not seek this fight. We did not want war, but we prepared for it anyway, because we knew someone would eventually test us. Today, the Voran Empire tested us. They failed." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "Let this be a message to the galaxy. Earth is not weak. Earth is not easy prey. We may be new to the galactic community, but we are not helpless. We will defend ourselves. We will protect our home, and we will show mercy to those who show wisdom." The broadcast ended. On trading stations and news networks across the galaxy, aliens sat in stunned silence. Everything they thought they knew about humans was wrong. The betting markets were in chaos. The military experts were scrambling to revise their estimates. On his disabled flagship, Tarvek sat in his command chair in the dark. His empire was broken. His fleet was destroyed. His reputation was ruined. And he had done it all to himself by underestimating an enemy. He had made the mistake that so many others would make in the years to come. He had judged humanity by what he could see, not by what they could do, and that mistake had cost him everything. The day after the battle, Earth did something that shocked the galaxy even more than the Supercarrier. They sent help to the Voran fleet. Medical ships launched from Earth carrying doctors and supplies. Engineering teams flew out to the disabled Voran vessels. They helped repair life support systems. They provided food and water. They treated injured crew members. Sub-Commander Kelvix watched from his cruiser as a human medical team came aboard. He expected them to be cruel, to treat the Vorans as prisoners or slaves. Instead, the lead doctor, a woman named Hannah, simply asked where the injured were. "Why are you helping us?" Kelvix asked. "We came to conquer you. We threatened your world." Hannah looked at him with calm eyes. "Because you lost and we won. The fighting is over. Now we help. That's what civilized people do." Kelvix had no response to that. In all his years serving the Voran Empire, he had never seen a victor help the defeated. Usually it was the opposite. On Earth, the world celebrated. But it was not a celebration of violence or revenge. It was a celebration of survival, of cleverness, of humanity's ability to work together when it mattered most. Parades filled the streets. People hugged strangers. Children waved flags showing Earth and the stars. Admiral Hyun did not join the celebrations. He was too busy. The Indomitable returned to its hidden dock, and Hyun went aboard to meet with Captain Do-yoon. "You did well," Hyun said, shaking the captain's hand. "Exactly as we planned," Do-yoon smiled. The crew performed perfectly. Engineer Minji kept the ship running at peak efficiency. Wing Commander Suji led the fighters like she was born to do it. "And your plan worked, Admiral. They never saw it coming." "They saw what we wanted them to see," Hyun replied. "Old ships, weak defenses, fear. They judged us by appearances and never looked deeper. That was their fatal mistake." In the command center, Ambassador Yoonji was preparing for her first address to the Galactic Council. She was a skilled diplomat who had been waiting years for this moment. Earth had always known they would eventually join the galactic community. They had just wanted to do it from a position of strength. The Galactic Council met in a space station orbiting a neutral star. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to watch Earth's first official address. The chamber was silent as Yoonji appeared on the main screen. "Members of the Galactic Council," she began. "I am Ambassador Yoonji of Earth. For decades, we have watched you from afar. We studied your cultures, your technologies, your wars. We remained hidden because we were not ready. Now we are ready." She paused, letting her words sink in. "The Voran Empire came to Earth expecting an easy conquest. They found instead a prepared defense. We revealed the Indomitable, but that is not our only carrier. We have 3 more hidden and waiting. We have fleets you have not seen. We have weapons we have not used. We show you this not to threaten, but to make our position clear. Earth will not be conquered." An alien representative stood up. "You deceived us. You hid your strength while we thought you were weak." "Yes," Yoonji said simply. "We did. We learned from watching the galaxy. We saw how powerful species treat weak ones. We decided not to be weak." "Was that wrong?" The alien had no answer. Several other representatives nodded in agreement with Yoonji. They understood. In a dangerous galaxy, survival required strength. Earth proposes a new relationship with the galactic community. Yoonji continued. "We offer mutual defense pacts. We offer trade agreements. We offer friendship. But we will not accept domination. We will not be anyone's subjects. We stand as equals or we stand alone. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Some species were angry, some were impressed, some were frightened. But all of them took Earth seriously now. Back in Earth space, Subcommander Kelvix was brought to meet Admiral Hyun. The meeting took place on a neutral station. Kelvix expected to be executed or imprisoned. Instead, Hyun offered him a chair and a cup of tea. "Your commander, Tarvex, has been taken into custody," Hyun said. "He will face trial for his crimes. But you, Subcommander, you chose to surrender. You chose to save lives. That shows wisdom." "I had no choice," Kelvix replied. "You had already won. You had a choice. You could have kept fighting. Many of your ships wanted to. But you ordered them to stand down. That took courage." Kelvix looked at his tea, then at Hyun. "What will happen to my people? To the Voran Empire?" "That depends on the Vorans," Hyun said. "We have been contacted by several species that your empire conquered. They want freedom. They want justice. Earth will help them get both. As for the Voran people themselves, they are not our enemies. Tarvex is our enemy. Bad leaders who start wars are our enemies. The people who follow those leaders because they have no choice. They are just people. So we will be allowed to go home? Eventually, yes. After trials. After reparations. After you prove you have learned from this. The Voran Empire as it was is finished. What comes next is up to you and your people." Kelvix sat back, processing this. He had expected death or slavery. Instead, he was being offered a chance at redemption. It was more than his people had ever offered their conquered enemies. Captain Sora stood on the bridge of the Defiant, looking at Earth through the main window. The planet looked beautiful, peaceful, unchanged by the battle that had almost destroyed it. "Lieutenant Nari," she said, "do you understand now? Do you understand why Admiral Hyun told us to trust him?" Nari nodded. "He was always 10 steps ahead. While we were worried about fighting, he had already won. The battle was just the final move." "Exactly. That's what separates good leaders from great ones. Great leaders win before the first shot is fired." In a hidden facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Engineer Minji was already working on something new. The 4 supercarriers were impressive, but she had ideas for improvements. Faster engines, stronger shields, better weapons. Earth had revealed its hand, and now the galaxy knew what humans could do. That meant Earth needed to stay ahead. "We can't stop now," she said to her team. "The galaxy is watching. We need to keep pushing forward, keep innovating. The Indomitable won today's battle, but tomorrow might bring something we haven't prepared for." Her team nodded and went back to work. That was the human way. Never satisfied, always improving, always preparing for the next challenge. Months passed. Earth joined the Galactic Council officially. Trade agreements were signed. Defense pacts were formed. Some species remained wary of humanity, but most were happy to have Earth as an ally rather than an enemy. The Voran Empire did collapse, just as predicted, but from its ashes came something new. Sub-Commander Kelvix, now just Commander Kelvix, led a reform movement. The new Voran government rejected conquest and embraced cooperation. They were not friends with Earth yet, but they were no longer enemies. Admiral Hyun retired a year after the battle. At his retirement ceremony, he stood before a crowd of thousands and gave a short speech. When the Vorans came to Earth, they mocked us. They saw our old ships and thought we were weak. They made assumptions based on appearances. That was their mistake. But it taught us something important. In this galaxy, you are defined not by how you look, but by what you do when it matters. Earth did what mattered. We prepared. We planned. We worked together. And when the moment came, we were ready. He paused, looking out at the crowd. Now the galaxy knows about humanity. They know we can fight. But more importantly, they know we can show mercy. They know we can win without cruelty. That is who we are. That is who we must always be. The crowd stood and cheered. Hyun smiled, nodded, and walked away. His work was done. The next generation would take Earth forward. High above the planet, the Indomitable patrolled silently. It was no longer hidden. Everyone could see it now. A massive guardian watching over Earth. Its mere presence sent a message to the galaxy. Earth was ready. Earth was strong, and Earth would never be mocked again.